One of my specialties inside the specialty of aggression and nervous system dysregulation in dogs is intrahousehold aggression. I work a lot of cases of intrahousehold aggression, which is conflict between pets within the home. And one of my jobs within that is to look at the history, look at the current situation, and help predict where problems are going to arise in the future and prevent that from happening. Three really common catalysts in an intrahousehold case are resources, tight spaces, and arousal. So let's say we have a pair of dogs who are fighting when one of the dogs gets aroused, gets stressed out because there are sights or sounds outside of the house, and they're, let's say, in the living room losing their bananas, and they redirect onto the other dog in the house. My job is not just to set up management around that scenario. My job is to say, okay, where else is dog A showing distress? Where else are these moments of high arousal? And maybe it's also happening in the backyard when someone passes by the fence, but it hasn't escalated to a fight yet because probably there's more space. But we still need to flag that as an area of concern and put management there so that we don't end up with fights in the backyard around the fence. Let's say these same dogs get really hyped around mealtime, and maybe the client reports to me that there's never been any issue. But then, as I teach them about body language and the communication between their pets, they're able to say, actually, we do see some lip licking, some careful avoidance. And we can say, oh, yeah, well, that makes sense because resources and arousal. And really, we could call inside a tight space in a lot of scenarios and for a lot of dogs. Let's also put some management around mealtime. And sometimes this is really tough for people to understand. They say, but my dogs don't have a problem here. And part of my job is to teach folks why this might be a problem in the future, is even likely to be a problem in the future, and then prevent that from happening. It's much, much harder when these things have escalated, the fights, the conflict have generalized to all these other areas. And the dogs have gotten more practice with this behavior. The dog being aggressed against is getting more afraid, and then perhaps starts fighting back, or perhaps starts instigating the fights is really common. And it's really scary and hard when it feels like these things are generalizing out of nowhere. But when we can understand the common catalysts in intra-household cases, it's often very clear and predictable that these things are going to happen. And so if we can get the family on board with putting management around those spaces, noticing lower levels of conflict before we're up here having a fight or growling, then we have a much better chance at salvaging the relationship.